Hello again to all my listeners tuning in. Welcome to Fractured Poet, a podcast for all of you poetically insane individuals who love getting lost in the art of poetry. Podcasting from Ontario, California, I am your host, Katrina Wisniewski, just another person in the world obsessed with words, striving to make sense of it all. So, today's episode is titled Life's Words, because I will be reciting poems that ponder life in some way or another. Each poem is some kind of reflection or a lesson to be learned. And rather than reading two poems, I decided to add in a third poem. So without further ado, this first poem is called Revoked. To wrap my head around the bullshit, it's a constant reminder of my failed attempts, the irritation and never-ending confusion. I am at my wit's end. Learning these lessons of life and understanding there are no quick fixes. What a bitch. I guess this one is pretty self-explanatory. I must have been thinking about how lame life can be. But, it's funny how we can go about life and think we have it all figured out when suddenly life pulls a fast one and proves us wrong. It then forces us to sometimes look back at everything we did wrong or think about the times when we could have done things differently. Personally, I think this poem is more of a reflection based on the decisions I've made in my life, and with that, being reminded of the mistakes I have made along the way. To have your decisions or mistakes being shoved in your face is a bitch because it's always there in the back of your mind. It's only then you start to realize that life does not have a manual attached. You suddenly get a harsh dose of reality that life has no quick fixes. So the second poem I am going to read is called Often. I often ponder the meaning of life, questioning its purpose while debating its longevity. To understand my existence and pay homage to this thing some call self-worth, I must have missed my calling. I often wonder if there is a book on life for dummies, feeling as though I have taken 1,000 steps forward only to be pushed back 1,000,000 more, hoping for a lesson to be taught, allowing me to retract my steps and start over. I now know that I was misinformed, going over the shoulda, coulda, wouldas in my head as if something was going to change. I often find myself in a daze, contemplating my next move, petrified of the results. All right, so this poem, like my recent others, was also rewritten. Similar story to previous episodes. As I was writing out the script to this episode, I was reading the poem often, realized I did not like it, and didn't sound right, so I rewrote it. It has the same idea, same theme, same concept, same thoughts, just worded differently. Now, before anyone reads too much into this poem, this is not by any means a suicide poem. I know the way it sounds, especially at the beginning, but that is far from my intention or my thoughts. This does, however, have a personal pull on me. I have been dealt a lot of rough cards in my life, and it's just really difficult to move past them. I do find myself pondering my existence. What is my purpose in breathing, the air we breathe, what I'm meant to do on this earth, shit like that. And that's where this poem came from initially. I know this poem isn't much of a pep talk type of poem, kind of depressing actually, but it puts my feelings in check in some way or another, a journal, if you will. Okay, so this third poem I'm going to read is called Surrender Your Sanity. I don't understand why my sanity is constantly being tested, whether it's being compromised or sacrificed for the sake of someone else, shanghaied into doing something that does not feel right in any way. To recognize the reason behind my thoughts are quite clear. My eyes burn from the inside. This red-hot sensation begins to seep through my veins. I cannot believe I am here again. Haven't I learned my lesson yet? Being forced to choose between selling my soul and surrendering my sanity. Isn't that some bullshit? Torn in two, I am asked to see things through others' eyes, to sympathize and be the bigger person. But at what cost? I see the pain, I see the hurt. I ache inside, knowing the harm it has done. But has anyone thought about what this surrender will do? How it will make me feel? Or the damage it will cause? I thought I made my point some time ago. I am done. Maneuvering my way back into hell's mouth is suicide, a place I am not willing to revisit. The end result does not look good. If only they knew. I hope it was worth it. Wow. Reading that poem just brought back a lot of memories that I honestly wish I could forget. That definitely took me for a loop again. I don't even know where to start with this. This poem was about a so-called job I had 2 summers ago, back in 2019. I don't want to get too much into detail, but I went out on a limb and decided to apply for a job that was out of my realm, something I've never done before. I thought I was doing a good deed for this human, and honestly, knowing what I know now, I should have walked away the second I saw what I might be in for, and I didn't. This individual I was supposedly working for was an elderly-ish woman who couldn't do a whole lot due to an injury or surgery she had whenever it was, keeping her from doing the job I was actually hired for, and she needed help with that particular task. The environment I was working in was not healthy. I can honestly say that I was severely treated like shit. I was talked down to, coaxed into doing other things that I was not hired to do, on top of being underpaid, in my opinion, especially with all the things I endured and was ultimately forced to do. The job eventually turned into a somewhat housekeeping caretaker position. Now, I don't mind helping people. In fact, I love helping those in need. But when you are treated like a piece of dirt after bending over backwards for someone, it becomes more of a burden than an act of kindness. This job made me question my self-worth and often wondered why I even existed. Someone had told me or brought to my attention that I am being put in a position that is forcing me to choose between selling my soul and sacrificing my sanity. Because honestly, I was slowly, and I mean literal terms, slowly losing my sanity. While working for this person, I was slowly losing me. I was a completely different person, a bitter and angry person. I was becoming the person I was working for, and everyone around me noticed it. One day, while I was testing out this dust sweeper thing, I literally had a freeze frame moment of my life at that very moment, and I started to cry. And I thought to myself, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is not what I signed up for. After that day, my attitude changed a lot. I was almost cold. And I never acted this way on a job, ever. The feeling I felt the day before overtook something in me, and I was running really low on tolerance. This is what this poem is about. Every single word in that poem and more is everything I felt throughout the 3 months I was working for that individual. And truth be told, it was 3 months too long. I ended up quitting that job at the end of that summer because it got worse. Again, I won't get into details because all I can say is I developed a lot of guts one morning, and I owe all of my thanks to a little kitten I named Raiden, a kitten I saved one morning on my way to work, and it was the best decision I made. But The poem doesn't mention that part because the poem was written before that even took place. So I'm going to get off of that topic, but with that being said, I am afraid that concludes the show. To those of you who are always tuning in, and even those who are just joining, I hope you like what you heard and tune in next time. You can catch this and future episodes at anchor.fm/fractured poet. This episode of Fractured Poet was written and produced by me, Katrina Wisniewski. Music by Alternative Rock Volume 1 and Rock Electronica Volume 4 from freeplaymusic.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Fractured Poet. And as always, thanks for listening, and until next time.